All right, everybody, welcome back to a late night at the KSR shop. Well, maybe it's not a late night where you are. Anyways, it's Sunday, Cutlass video day. I know we skipped last week so that we could go racing with Soccer Mom, and I appreciate all you guys watching that video. We had us a real good time at the racetrack with Soccer Mom, and in looking at some data after that event, we have us a real runner at the weight that she's currently at. So we really want to try and put the lightweight stuff back on her and go real fast. But we're going to do a checkup over some things, make sure everything's happy. Like maybe even check the cylinder head retorque, just because that's the absolute most we have leaned on that Texas Speed 388. So we're just going to make sure that all is good with that before we send her even more. But we want to show some times and actually get some time slips for what it ran, so that we're not just looking in the Holly for the data. But anyways, like I said, it is Cutlass day, and yeah, it's late. Like I think it's about 10 o'clock now, and I tell you what, that's just the life down here sometimes, because here in the shop we have we had Lee's Viper in this morning for a chassis setup for Coda that's happening while this video is coming out. Lee is racing the final race of the year at Circuit of the Americas in Texas, and actually Eddie is there crewing with him because right now on Sunday I am at a gymnastics meet for my youngest, and she is an 8-year-old level 5 gymnast already in the ultra competitive Florida scene. So that's where I'm at right now, and hopefully she's doing awesome. But anyway, lots of stuff going on with the shop that even takes me into after hours with research, parts gathering. We've got lots of stuff happening with Steve's wife's car, as well as the Chevy 2. The truck is just sitting up there for now while we get Val's car thrashed on. We had that Cobra that left also today. I think it left today. I know I did some driving with it yesterday, and I think he came and picked it up while I was gone. Didn't even go back in the dyno room today to even look to see if it was here. But anyways, let's get through the intro and get to cranking on this thing, and I'll let you know what we're gonna do. All right, well, first order of business for today. Well, I got to lower the car down, which means I need to drag my front end out of the way. And I have my oil pan out, as well as the mid plate. And somewhere around here, there's my mockup Turbo 400. I have an Oldsmobile mockup block over there. And we are going to loosely bolt this to the mockup block. It's the same dimensions as my block over there, my 385 cubic inch small block Oldsmobile. So I can use the much lighter mockup block to test fit the oil pan, set my crankshaft centerline height, set the height of the transmission, which is kind of determined by crankshaft centerline height, as well as how high I am setting up the front of the engine. So basically we want to get kind of the bottom of that pan to where it's just above this plane right here. Whoop. So ideally the oil pan is just slightly above that. So I'll get the car down, slide the motor in. Well, I got to assemble that. And then in the middle of doing that, what I'm hoping to do, I don't think I can put it in just like it is now, but what I'll do is I'll measure through some form of something or other. I'll measure from maybe the center line of that bottom bolt down to the top of this bar right there. And then once I get all of the transmission positioned, and then that'll let me put the initial trimming on the mid plate so that we can kind of set the transmission and hang it in there. And then that will allow me to build a transmission cross member, as well as work on the front motor plate. So the front motor plate for this car is back there, just laying on the frame, and I have to completely make it. But thankfully, the front of an Oldsmobile engine is just perfectly flat. So it bolts to the front of the timing cover. I guess I do have my camshaft sensor that's in the front of the engine, but it'll be really easy to fabricate all of that, put a center line on it, make sure it's centered between the frame rails, all that good stuff. But enough of me talking, because the more I talk, the less I get done. So I'm gonna flip on a time lapse, and I think I'm gonna use the old classic time lapse music here. Some of you guys like that, and I had to go fish it out of my old computer that would only randomly start. Like some days it would crank up, some days it wouldn't. That's why I upgraded to an Apple computer for my editing. But as some of you saw, we had some problems with the Apple editing, but I think I'm finally getting the hang of it. Anyways, time for me to get to work. Enjoy the music. Alright, well, I had some fun tonight. But it's after midnight. I'm ready to go home. At least for tonight. But that's kind of where the engine's going to go. It's above my cross member in the front. Obviously, you can kind of see the wood, even though the oil pan is notched. at the very back of the oil pan, it's actually below that bar there by about 1/4 of an inch. And when I had originally done some measuring on this thing, apparently I made a boo-boo, because that's a problem right there. Yep, that's a problem. That's the Chevrolet bolt there with my blurry finger. That's the Chevrolet bolt pattern, but you know, we might eventually end up with a Chevrolet on this thing. Who knows? But thankfully, that hoop is not a part of any of the chassis, like the chassis rules or the roll cage spec that the car will be certified to. So I can cut some notches in that to where my Oldsmobile transmission will fit. I don't know what the heck I did there, but obviously it's not right. Just didn't bend that bar high enough. And the crazy thing is, I thought I was like an inch to the good. But I also had mocked up the transmission where it was basically sitting on that cross member right there. So you can see there's 3 inches of distance between the cross member and then the actual transmission mount itself. So that has kind of caused a problem there. Now I could lower the front down, you know, because then that would change my engine angle a little bit. Right now the engine is up 1/2 degree from the chassis angle, which is what I wanted. That's very different from what stock would be, because stock would be down like 2 inches in the back, or not 2 inches, 2 to 2.5 degrees is what I have typically measured when I measured a G-body in stock form. At least the couple I remember measuring. It's been a minute. But I wanted the engine actually up in the tail just a little bit, because I had planned to have it so low in the at the front of the engine, and then that makes it to where it's got a nice sweep where the drive shaft is going to sweep from being uphill just a little bit to downhill under extension when the car is separating the rear end from the chassis, when we are applying all of the horsepower that my Oldsmobile engine will make. Because this chassis ought to just laugh at the power that this thing will make. Which, I mean, I'm still hoping it makes like 16 to 1800 horsepower. Bill thinks, the guy that built it, he is arguably the best ultra high performance Oldsmobile engine builder in the world. And he thinks it can go more, possibly. And then there's some other guys that think it can go more. The little sneak peek of some intake action there from my buddy Peyton, who is another Oldsmobile super guru, him and his dad. So we'll have some more cool parts to show you from him on some of the other projects. But he's working on an intake for my project, as well as some exhaust flanges. And then I will have some headers to build once I get the engine actually set in there for good. Yep, wasn't ready to spend all day notching out that cross member. And it may not take me all day, but I think what I'm going to do is actually split that cross member and then fill it back in with a piece of material. And you know what? Maybe I can make lemons out of lemonade. And no, I said that wrong. I can make lemonade out of lemons. I think that's the opposite of what I said a second ago. But maybe we will make that to where the transmission tunnel mounts on the back of that bar. So if I use a piece that's wider than that tube, then that can be kind of the top of the transmission tunnel. Yeah. Meant to do that. No, I didn't. All right, anyways, I'm going home, going to bed. And then probably gonna have to work on this during business hours because I know I'll be out of town this weekend. All right, see you tomorrow. All right, so one more quick time lapse to wrap up this video, and I kind of decided to try to add some more to the video. And this was a couple more hours of work that I put into the car while my youngest was in gymnastics. Usually I get a couple extra hours in the evenings after business hours anyway, where I can go back down to the shop while I'm waiting on her to finish up at her gymnastics training or gymnastics classes. Or I mean, she's really trying to be a competitive athlete, so I would say it's more training than just, fun time in gymnastics. Because like any sport, if you're going to be good at it, you really have to dedicate some time to it. And she has gymnastics every single night of the week. But anyways, I am at least trying to get some more stuff done on this thing. And you noticed I grabbed the front motor plate because now that I saw how tight the fitment is with the mid plate and some things that I have to change before I can really do any measuring for the mid plate, I decided to do the front plate first. I know earlier in the video I had mentioned doing the mid plate and then the front plate, but I know I'm going to have to take the engine out of there. I've done all of the mock-up work to get it centered, get the angle set where I wanted to have it. So I'm going to go ahead and start making the front motor plate. Well, I grabbed the front plate and it's not straight. It's kind of warped, and it's been around the shop and been sat on and pried on to do some different things here and there, and I should have been a little more careful with it. Or truth be told, it could have been a little warped like that from the day I got it, because we just went down to the local metal shop and picked up a piece of 1/4 inch thick sheet that they had laying off to the side, and that's what we did. Maybe I should have checked, because I honestly don't even know if it was straight, but I will be checking that more in the future, because this is the only vehicle that I actually have to make a motor plate for. There are some Oldsmobile motor plates available, but not very many, and not one that I wanted. There wasn't one designed like the way I wanted it designed. So kind of the same way in the way I did all my own front K-member for this thing, that's different from the other ones that are available on the market. I am making my own front motor plate. And like I mentioned earlier, it is a very easy motor plate to make, just because the front of an Oldsmobile is very flat. And yeah, I don't really have to do a whole lot with it. I can just mock it all up on there and make it work with just using basically the timing cover and the front timing cover gasket, and making sure all that's on the center line, and drill some holes in the piece of aluminum and make the motor plate from there, which I'll show you in another video where we actually get a piece that's going to work. And but for tonight, I am cleaning up the frame rail a little bit more, because that is stuff that has to be done. I know sometimes the cutting and welding videos do get a little repetitive and monotonous, but I'm showing you guys this whole build. Well, that's gonna wrap it up for today on the Cutlass. It's probably a little bit shorter of a video than I thought I was originally doing, but this week was nuts. Like, we had Halloween this week, so trick-or-treating with the kids and all that fun stuff. And then we've got a gymnastics meet out of town this weekend. So we won't be around for me to work on this while my kids are at gymnastics. So, 2 nights lost, and I had planned to do the front motor plate. Now that I've got the engine where I want it, I was gonna do the front plate so that I could more easily come back to it once I notch out the transmission cross member. Yeah, that thing that I messed up on. But through this thing being in the car and around, it is no longer straight. You look down the edge of it there, you can see it. Yeah, it might pull back straight, like, you know, but I don't like that. I don't like that it's wavy, curvy. So I'll go get another piece, and we've actually had a need for some 1/4 inch in smaller pieces, which that wobble that's in that won't show up in smaller pieces. But, you know, is what it is. And actually, now that I see this thing in the car, I can probably narrow it up, because I know it's not going to be any wider than there to there, which is narrower than that. So that'll save me some cutting there. I'll order it the maximum width that I already need it to be. And that'll be that. So you may have seen me do a lot of grinding on this thing, which I was just cleaning up some of the spots, trying to smooth out the frame rail. Probably going a little bit overboard, but those of you that have watched any of my previous videos, you know that's just kind of how I do things. Hopefully I'm not all dirty, because this isn't getting refilmed. I've just got to go pick up my kids from gymnastics, and then we're packing up to head out of town for the weekend. But anyways, appreciate all you subscribing, following along, commenting on the video, all that other stuff. And a lot of you guys like the Soccer Mom track video, and I like the Soccer Mom track video because it was pretty awesome to go to the racetrack. And we have this plan to go rent Gainesville Raceway, which I might have mentioned earlier in this video, or a couple days from when I started this video. But we're going to drag all the guys out there, and they're going to get to drive their stuff, hopefully, down the racetrack, as well as like the burnout car. And maybe we can even take them for 60-foot shots in Soccer Mom or something like that. But that should be a real fun video. And I guess that'll wrap it up for this video. Might not have a video before next Tuesday, but go out and vote. It's our right as Americans. And, you know, we should all be going out and doing that. So hopefully, if you haven't already, you will do that on Tuesday. And that'll be that. So anyways, thanks again for watching, subscribing, following along. See you guys next time.